Hello, I'm Dr. Priscilla. I am the CEO and founder of Speak Excellent English. Today, I'm going to read for you Chapter 1 of Making Things Happen. As you listen to this recording, make notes, especially if you are preparing for the IELTS or TOEFL exam. This will help you with your listening. And at the end of the reading, if you can summarize for me in the chat what this story is about, chapter 1 is about, I will offer you a free conversational English class with me in the month of February 2019. Now I will begin to read Making Things Happen, chapter 1. Meeting the neighbors. I can't believe we are finally here, Fernando exclaimed as he stood looking out the window of the apartment at the city streets below. Cars rushed by, and he could hear horns blaring and sirens sounding. It was so different from his small hometown in Mexico. Moving to a new home, a whole new country, was incredibly exciting. Fernando's enthusiasm quickly subsided when he turned to see his grandfather sitting motionless at the dining room table, staring down at his hands. Abuelo had barely spoken all day. Conscious of his grandfather's sad mood, Fernando spoke gently. "Don't you think it's wonderful here, Abuelo?" Abuelo shrugged. "Quizás," he said. "For you, Fernando, and for your mama and papa, maybe it is wonderful. For me, I am not so sure." Abuelo continued with sorrow in his voice. "I miss my home and the rest of our family and all my friends very much." Fernando's mother had been listening from the kitchen doorway, and she came over and put her hand on Abuelo's shoulder. "We're so glad you decided to come here with us. I know it's hard, but we'll all get used to our new home together. You'll see." Abuelo nodded and patted her hand, but Fernando could tell from the pained look on his face that he wasn't convinced. Fernando thought about all the ways that Abuelo had helped him over the years, teaching him to swim under the hot summer sun when he was only 5, walking him to the first day of school every year, teaching him to make his famous, at least in their town, guacamole. Fernando wished he had a way to pay Abuelo back for all his kindness. "Fernando, venga, come. Can you help me, please?" Fernando's father called. Fernando ran to find Papa. He was happy to help him carry empty packing cartons to the basement. He couldn't wait to explore more of the building. Within a few days of moving in, Fernando had begun to feel at home in the building. He enjoyed chatting with the neighbors. He had been surprised to find that there were many older people living alone in his hometown. Grandparents, parents, and children often lived together in the same house. Coming around a corner in the hallway one day, he came across Mrs. Monroe, struggling to carry several grocery bags from the elevator. "May I help with those?" he offered, rushing over. "That would be wonderful, dear," she answered, handing him 2 bags. Fernando followed her into her apartment and set the bags on the kitchen table. Fernando noticed an antique-looking violin sitting on a chair in the living room. "Do you play the violin?" he asked. "Not very much anymore. I used to play with a string quartet, but now it's mostly just decoration," Miss Monroe replied with a laugh. "My grandfather plays the guitar," he told her, "but he doesn't play very much anymore either." She nodded in understanding. It's hard to find the motivation when you're not part of a group. At least it is for me. Fernando replied thoughtfully, "I think Abuelo feels that way too." Leaving Mrs. Monroe's apartment, Fernando caught the eye of someone he hadn't met before. Something about the elderly man instantly reminded Fernando of Abuelo. Though there wasn't much of a physical resemblance, the man's dark eyes were thoughtful and wise like Abulo's. Fernando paused in the hallway as the man removed his keys from his pocket and stopped in front of an apartment a few doors away. "Hi, I'm Fernando," he said politely. "My family and I are new to this building." The man shook Fernando's offered hand and introduced himself as Manfred. "So do you like living here?" Fernando questioned him. "It's okay," Manfred responded, sounding slightly downhearted, "but I haven't been here long." Fernando thought about Abulo, homesick for Mexico. "What do you miss from your last home?" he asked. Manfred paused before answering carefully. "One thing I particularly miss is the senior center." "What's that?" Fernando asked. "It is a place with support services for senior citizens," Manfred explained, "and classes and social events. It's a shame that there aren't any nearby." But never mind about that. He didn't wait for a reply. He just said goodbye and went into his apartment. Fernando stood staring at the closed door for a moment and then, deep in thought, climbed the stairs to his own apartment. "Hola!" Fernando yelled as he ran into the apartment past his grandfather and burst into the kitchen where he found his parents. "I met another of our neighbors," he told them, and then repeated what Manfred had said about the senior center. "Wouldn't it be great if there were something like that around here? It would give Abulo somewhere to go to have fun and make friends like the ones he had in Mexico," he said. "Definitely," Mama agreed. "And if they offered English lessons, that would give him the opportunity to improve his language skills. That would make his new life much easier and more enjoyable." Though Fernando's school in Mexico had given English classes and Mom and Papa both spoke English, Abulo didn't know it quite as well. Fernando knew this was one of the reasons that he was finding it hard to adjust to their new surroundings. "Fernando, I like your idea of a local senior center," Papa said. "Let's talk further about how we could be able to get it off the ground." "Maybe I don't want to go to any center for senior citizens," Abulo hollered grumpily from the other room. Mama shook her head as if to say, "Let's leave it at that for now." So nothing more was said, but Fernando had only just begun thinking about the senior center idea. Thank you for listening. That was chapter 1, and I will continue with chapter 2. I'm Dr. Priscilla, the CEO and founder of Speak Excellent English.